What if we went... Add some piano. Clean the piano up by quantizing it a little bit. I'm gonna do the 8th note to about 50% to keep a little bit of feeling, and then I'll also just have it start on the 1, Command J to consolidate. I want the song to start with just the piano and then lead into this, and I want to layer a bass under this piano as well. Quantize 100%. We can duplicate this whole verse section and have the bass come in halfway through. The reason we're doing this is we have a bass come in so it feels full in the beginning, and then we're cutting it out so that it feels big again when the vocals come in. But since we're adding a new element, we can take another element away, and then halfway through we add that bass back and it feels bigger than it would have. It just gives it a little more variation in your song. Really the best way to make your songs feel interesting is to be adding and taking away elements. You make your songs feel big by creating a void and then filling it again. You're not just filling and filling and filling. And another harmony leading into the hook. I'm going to duplicate these vocals now for the hook and record a higher layer on top of these. Print the effects to these. I'm going to duplicate the hook vocals and just move them out of the way because I want to process them differently for the drop. For the hook, I hear this pattern being like da 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 da. Do that. I just want to take a section of this and we'll let it repeat like. So we'll do that to all of this now. Resample these down into one audio track. Get rid of these because we don't need them. Duplicate this, and then we're going to make some reverse reverbs just for certain notes. I'm just going to make the fills for these notes, so I'll consolidate these into one. I'm going to reverse it, add a reverb at 100% with a super short decay, and we'll print this onto the audio track. Then we'll reverse it again, and we'll cut it out so it only starts playing after the prior note hits, and it stops playing once the actual note hits. And we'll use LFO tool to make it feel like it's pumping a little bit. I want to hear a guitar-like pattern on this now, but don't want to play one in, so we'll just use our voice again. Quantize this 100% to the 16th note now. Clean this up a little bit, put the auto-tune at 100%, and then add little alter boy at the pitch all the way up and the formant just to 8. Drive up all the way, we have this cool. Print this down to audio now. Add the LFO tool from our vocal cords to the guitar, and a distressor with a super slow attack just to give us a little bit of transient at the beginning of each note. I just want to hear a ping pong delay now. Print this down. We'll have it start out super bandpassed at the beginning of the hook, and then we'll have it slowly just open up throughout the hook. Add impact at the beginning of the hook. Thank you, Cashmere. Filter out the piano leading into the hook. We'll make a snare build, and I actually like to use a sampler to do this. And I hear on the 8th note, like do 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 do. Halfway through, switch to the 16th note. Might even go to the 32nd for just the last quarter bar. We have our pattern. Now I'll click A, go into our snare, go to transpose. I'll have it start on 0, and then the very last note I'll have just be 2 octaves up. Hold Option, click on it, make a curve. Shift makes you do it a little more fine though. Add a reverb to it, bring down the decay, and then we're gonna automate the dry wet going up. So we'll start it out at 0. As we go along, it'll go up a bit. Not all the way, but a pretty good amount. And we'll have the snare just filter in as well. Cool feature Ableton has is you'll see we have this recorded in by hand, and there's all these different values. It's kind of messy. We can highlight it and click simplify envelope, and then it's like, cool, you did it about like that. Cool. Lastly, I'll just automate it so it starts out a little quieter and comes up in volume. Now I just want a percussive kind of bass for the second half of this hook. Just realized I wasn't recording for the past 15 minutes, but I made this bass synth. That would have been cool to show you, but whatever. And I also made this vocalizer, which is just a part of the acapella, throwing the sampler just like the snare was, with the same MIDI and transposing up, with just a little bit of overdrive, multiband, and a limiter. Cool, onto the drop now. I'm gonna quickly resample these vocal chords. We're gonna throw an auto pan on this vocal, set the amount to 100%, click the note, and we'll have it on the 16th note for the rate, and then we'll put the phase at 0 and the offset at 180. Now you'll hear we have this. Add a little bit of reverb before the auto pan, and a little bit after too. LFO tool now to make it pump to the quarter note, and I could use a sidechaining compressor to do this, but since we know that every time we want it to hit is on the quarter note, I want to use LFO tool because it just gives me more control. Get some multiband compression to these now. Now to the drums. We'll start with the kick on every quarter note, or clap. Then a hat on every upbeat or every other eighth note. And then another hat playing a different rhythm to give it some groove. On the second hat, I'm going to automate the feedback knob of a doubling preset with an Echo Boy. And a shaker loop halfway through. Now we're going to add our bass. We'll add our LFO tool from our vocal chops to our bass as well. And I want a melody within the drop, so I'll do that with my voice. Add a high to it. And a harmony on the second half of this. Group these drop melody vocals. I copied the auto pan from our drop chords, brought the amount down about 20% though, a little bit of reverb and some OTT at 40% before hitting our LFO tool. We get this. Sweet, so that's the drop. Now we just gotta record the vocals. So for the past hour, I had the song on loop while I figured out my melodies and my lyrics. So now that I have those, I'll record those vocals in now.
There's a laptop on your desk with a message that you left for someone else you love. Is it real love? Is it made up? Is it still there when the sun's up and the night fades away?
Add a high layer.
Is it real love? Is it made up? Is it still there when the sun's up and the night fades away?
I decided to also bandpass these pianos in the verse.
There's a laptop on your desk. Don't tell her you love her, then leave for another and act like there's no other way. Unless you know that you couldn't leave, oh you shouldn't. Promise that you're gonna stay. Be honest.
I comped the hook vocal, now let's get it high.
Don't tell her you love her, then leave for another and act like there's no other way. Promise that you're gonna stay. Be honest.
Then just a harmony for the hook.
Leave, oh you shouldn't. Promise that you're gonna stay. Be honest.
So that's everything. Now let's just play the song back.
There's a laptop on your desk with a message that you left for someone else you love. Is it real love? Is it made up? Is it still there when the sun's up and the night fades away? Don't tell her you love her, then leave for another and act like there's no other way. Unless you know that you couldn't leave, oh you shouldn't. Promise that you're gonna stay. Be honest.
As always, happy producing.